Hello, this is Kishkisan, and today I'll be talking about a champion deck. Um, so, uh, this is the ultimate meme deck. It tries to summon the champion of contest, and we do this by playing the 6 Omen cards and getting the 6 rings. And after getting these rings, the champion is summoned on the victorious podium. It's very cool to summon the champion, as his effect is really mysterious and overwhelming. We can destroy everything. Destroys any minion or enchantment, and it's really fun to just keep zapping everything around before swinging in for the kill. Um, so I want to go over this deck because I think the core of this deck is solid. It's a yellow, blue, orange core, which is also the core that Ejecti was using for his Fires of Creation loop pre-expansion. It's definitely a very viable core, and I think this core is not played as much post-expansion, and I don't really know why. I think it's still very viable. But this core can really carry the champion deck, and it's very easy to make this an actual deck by just removing the Omen cards, the rings. Some of the Omen cards are actually good, like the Garland Arbors. These are actually really good, and I've come to really respect them because the healing is very nice, and they find each other, and you don't really care about them hitting all the time, as they also generate a forgeling while playing the Fires of Creation path, so it's not really the worst. And I mean, getting a minion, maybe a 2/2 or a 3/3, and gaining 4 life, and just paying 2 mana for that, it's definitely something that I've come to value a lot more after playing this deck. So we play the yellow, blue, orange core for the deck, and the rest of the omens are just splashed in as a one-off. The Terror of Kerr, the Unforgivable Crossing, and the Gamma Senin. These are the only red, green, and purple cards, respectively. And being investing a little more into orange allows us to play Eager Recruits, and it's not that we can't play Eager Recruits the other way around if we hadn't invested a lot into orange, because we're still playing only one orange gem cards, and that's on purpose, because it's due to gem issues that we run into if we play double orange. Even though this deck can burn 2 orange gems, it might be very difficult to do so, because one of the yellow gems needs to be burned is Annihilus Fabricator, as you only get the ring when it's forged. So that's an issue, and sometimes you really need to play a Misanthropy early, and we're forced to burn a 3rd gem that's not the Annihilus Fabricator. So in that case, we'd have to burn 4 yellow gems and 1 orange gem, and that's taken into consideration with just the 1 gem oranges, and the blue is meant to be just 2, burning 2, but we can definitely just burn 3 and 3 if we manage to burn the Annihilus Fabricator early. So finding the Annihilus Fabricator is really one of our priorities, to be able to burn it early, so that it would leave us a lot of room to work with the other gems. This deck makes use of the Root of the World for the draw, and the Brising Necklace can allow us to draw the enchantments. It's either the Root of the World or the Hole of Matrimony, and sometimes we shuffle in the Victorious Podium as well. And that's nice, because if we draw the Victorious Podium, we can shuffle it back in with the Brising Necklace. And the reason I don't really like to play the Victorious Podium is because it does nothing, and I'd rather get the mana. and yeah, it pushes the rings to the top of my deck, but I feel like that's really it's kind of I'm not really sure if that's worth playing rather than getting the mana and just keeping it to keep drawing for the Rising Necklace. It's certainly not something that I'm sure is the correct way to do it, but that's how I usually do stuff. So this deck is very directed towards winning through the champion. There are very few win conditions aside from that, and I think a lot of people play a lot of the good cards in their champion deck because it gives them different win conditions. But and we can definitely do this in this deck. But I'm going all in on the champion in this deck, and you can see this in my heavy control decisions, playing Bragi and no Kara, or even some people play the 5 mana Tyr Monument because you can ramp into it. And this is all definitely very viable if you play without the Omen cards, but the Omen cards really make burning difficult, and it also means that we're always behind on tempo in this game until we're able to get the Norn data cores up and running. But at that point, there's very little that can stop us when we have infinite mana, as much as nothing can really stop any FOC deck when it has infinite mana, besides some kind of wombo combo. But yeah, so the hardest part is actually just getting set up and getting the draw engine set up with the Root of the World, reconstruct the 1 mana minions, playing them on the Root of the World, and just cycling our deck. And the Root of the World is really nice because the omens are minions like the Terror of Kur, the Donor of Fertility, and the Gamma Senin. So that's very nice. We can find them, burn them, and then cycle them back and get them. And it's very nice to do that with the Root of the World. It's a little bit difficult to set up in faster matchups, but we're really not playing this deck to win the fast matchups. We're playing this deck to outgrind any grindy deck, and it's actually and the Root of the World is not really that bad in these grindy matchups. And the whole of Matrimony is something that's really not that impressive really as a card. There's an Omen card and we have to at least occupy it once to get the ring. And the Bragi, we can shuffle in our unwanted cards. Let's say we draw a card that we can't play due to gem restrictions. Let's say we draw a Terror of Kur and it's already burnt, and we can't really afford to play the Terror of Kur now due to, let's say, the opponent has significant board presence that we can't invest the 3 mana required right now. We can just shuffle it back in, or we can just shuffle back in the Forgelings. We don't really care about the Frenzy, and the drawing 3 enchantments is actually relevant here because we play 2 enchantments, and the drawing 2 cards is really impressive. As for the yellow part, it's also just heavy control with the Poxbringers because we really need this single target removal. And the Gem Cutter Spiders are really insane when we're playing 6 gems, as it can easily become a 12-12. And yeah, the Gem Cutter Spider unfortunately can win us games without playing the champion, which is not something we want often. And the Model of Duality as well serves as part of our draw engine. We can definitely draw a ton with the model between the Model of Duality, the Root of the World, and we can cycle through our deck really fast. And the Terror of Kur, the Unforgivable Crossing, and the Gamma Senin, these are the rings from the red, green, purple. I don't know for Fertility, I can usually just shuffle back into the deck with Root of the World, as the Root of the World just puts it on the bottom as the bottom minion of the deck, so it doesn't really make my deck worse in a sense. And I would have to draw all the minions from my deck before I draw the Donor of Fertility again, as it's really not a good minion. We just want the ring. And in this sense, these bad minions serve two purposes. For one, it gives us the ring, which is essential for summoning the champion, but also can be used to cycle through our deck. The Eager Recruit is really is how we draw a lot because of the Parser Recruit as well. The good thing about burning 2 orange gems is that we can shuffle both the Eager Recruit and the Parser Recruit. Of course, when we're not constrained by these gem restrictions from playing the Omen cards, we can definitely see this as being really viable, as the Eager Recruits fall down in impact in the late game, as the Parser Recruits and the Eager Recruits are generally less useful than the other minions in our deck. And we can definitely see how these can work in a YBO deck. The Lamp of Wonders is really there because drawing the right cards is essential when we're playing so many colors, and it's just to finding our Annulus Fabricator early is essential for the game plan for this deck, as we mentioned that the Annulus Fabricator makes our gem burnings much simpler. And the Quicksand Hourglass is a really nice defensive artifact that I enjoy a lot. It can take off a lot of pressure from the opponent. Joseri Arquebus is also very nice, and it can definitely stall a lot. And it being just 1 gem is really something that I don't understand, but it's definitely something that's nice for the deck. The Sign of Pride is necessary so that we Pride of Place the Gamma Senin, and to get the final ring. So that's the last thing that we're going to do. And we should be careful not to have our Gamma Senin dealt with in a way that prevents us from getting the ring. One of those ways is having the Gamma Senin silenced, then killed. It would be very difficult to get back the Gamma Senin, but that's not the end of the world, because the Unforgivable Crossing can return the Gamma Senin back to our hand. And returning the Gamma Senin back to our hand, we don't even need the Sign of Pride anymore, as it's ephemeral, and once it dies, it goes, it's banished, and the ring is added to our hand. So, but we'll have to curate our Boneyard with our Reconstruct to make sure that the Unforgivable Crossing gives us the Gamma Senin back. And the Herald of Pestilence is a nice minion to stall the game. So yeah, this deck is all about stalling until we assemble all the rings and play the victorious podium and get our champion. It's not a good deck, I'll be clear with that, but the core of the deck is really nice, and I think there's definitely a lot of potential there. So yeah, I'll go over a game where I summon the champion and enjoy how cool the champion is. So we're up against Harpy, and I'm just trying to set up the draws with the Maze of Aitioku, and he's playing blue-orange, and it's a bit scary to play against blue-orange because of Horn, but we just need to keep removing the stuff that he plays. And the Quicksand Hourglass here is very nice, as we don't really need to use the Quicksand Hourglass over here, as next turn is gonna be Winter. On the other hand, we can use the Quicksand Hourglass here to prevent the Fossegrim from trading into the maze and keeping the maze for further draws. And as for the gem situation right now, we've set up the Model Duality very early, which is really one of the strongest artifacts in FOC, as it counteracts our lack of draw and gives us a ton of draw. So that's something that we're really happy about, and we also have the Norn Data Core, so we are easily going to have a lot of mana to work with. The And as for the gem situation, I think we've burned the modulus annulus fabricator already, so we're fine with the yellow gems. And this eases off a lot of the issues with burning, as I've mentioned. We can just burn three yellow gems and two orange gems, as well as two blue gems and one of the remaining colors. So yeah, and the forgelings are also nice minions to keep stalling, as we don't really play that much minions, and as we can see, the opponent just can't trade, and that Fosagrim trade into the maze is basically a huge tempo win for us, as that Fosagrim just was played for 3 mana and did nothing. So the opponent sort of had a turn where he basically did nothing, and we traded the Hourglass for that, but we're not sad about that, as the Hourglass also gave us a Forgeling. So we can play the Box Springer here.
It isn't catching.
And yeah, it kills the... We're gonna kill the Draggy in 2 turns. And we're already getting draws from the Model of Duality. And our number one priority really is to protect the model, as it's really one of the strongest artifacts in a deck like ours. And yeah, this Gem Cutter Spider is already an 8/8. And this is a bit scary, but thankfully we have the Thunderclap to deal with, and it doesn't matter. And that was a mistake on my part. But that Gem Cutter Spider is very scary for the opponent here, and the opponent might not have a way to answer it, and we can just deal a ton of damage. But the opponent did have a way to answer it with the Angel, but you can imagine how sad it is to just Angel one minion, as our other minion was just a 0/1 due to the right trickster effect. So yeah, that Gem Cutter Spider is really a slept-on minion in multicolored decks. And we're not... It's kind of scary if the Forgeling is removed, but it's not the end of the world, as we're protecting the Model of Duality with our Garland Arbor. And that's one really nice thing about the Garland Arbor. We can use it to protect our more important artifacts, as we don't really care about the Garland Arbor. It already did its work. It gave us a Forgeling, and it gained us 4 life. So we're fine with that. And this positioning is nice, because if the opponent for whatever reason doesn't trade here, we can just blast and kill the Angel that way. But yeah, the opponent just decides to go for this play, and I don't think that was a play I would ever do. I don't think that was good, as he was just investing into getting his stuff back with the Valhalla. And it's gonna be a while till he starts getting back the good stuff from the Valhalla. And I traded into the Angel first, because I thought the Angel could work in my favor, as getting the Angel from the Junkyard Valhalla can really clear any board. And I'd be happy with clearing boards, as I usually will not have a board presence, unlike my opponent. And yeah, the game is going very slow. Just exactly like how we want it, and we're getting a ton of mana from the known Dita cores, and we're getting a lot of draws from the Model of Duality, and we've protected the Model of Duality nicely. So we can just get started playing a lot of stuff and just drawing. This is all very nice, drawing all these cards. But the Odin Throne is going to be a huge pain for us, as whatever is played on the Odin Throne is going to be very difficult to deal with, especially a Triassic Kraken with Regen 3, as there's no way we can trade in a Box Springer, and even a Misanthropia kills it in 2 turns, and it's going to still be very scary when we kill it. So yeah, there's not really much that we can do here, as not even using the hourglass here is going to work, as even if he trades and the hourglass procs, the regen 3 just means that we can't kill it next turn with a Magnus. On the other hand, we can just keep the maze alive, so that's where I use the hourglass. And we have a ton of mana here. We can definitely play stuff, but I chose not to. I think maybe it's correct. It would have been correct to play the Bragi somewhere. I'm not sure why I didn't do it. I think I would have 2 and 2 mana. I would have 5 mana to play a Bragi. But yeah, that Fossegrim was very sad, as both times it died to the Hourglass, and it had very little value for the opponent.
Wind.
And thankfully we have the Boxbringer in hand.
Don't worry, it isn't.
So we were not sad about that. And we're drawing cards as well as killing the enemy stuff. And the Bragi is kind of scary because we don't really have efficient ways to kill stuff. And keeping the Bragi alive until it gets the frenzy effect is very scary. And it's also very scary if the opponent gets a horn or a discard Borealis Bridge. Yeah, and then the opponent plays the mountain. And that voice line is really scary. Both because there's really no way for this deck to deal with a 12-12, and there's really 20 damage on the board already, and there's not much that we can do about it. And our best effort really is going to be try to deal with this mountain to try to reduce its damage somehow with the Boxbringer. But it's not very easy to do that. And we're kind of forced to make bad decisions. Not bad decisions, but there's really nothing else that we can do. And we can't kill the we can't kill the Kraken yet. It's still a 3/5, and it has regen 3. But we find our Misanthropia, so we're definitely going to use the Misanthropia very soon. And we just try to... I think I should have swung to kill the Bragi. I don't know why I didn't. I think that was a big mistake not to do that. Yeah, I have no idea why I didn't swing to kill the Bragi. Yeah, I think that was a mistake on my part. And, yeah. Thankfully the opponent is down on cards, and this Misanthropia is very high value. I think the opponent might have misplayed that turn. And and we use the Annihilus Fabricator to get back to copy a Garland Armor, as we don't really care about copying any of our other enchantments, and at least the Garland Armor can heal us, so that's nice. And yeah, the opponent is getting back the Triassic Kraken, and this is very scary, as the Triassic Kraken was already hard to deal with the first time. It's still going to be very hard to deal with the second time. And there's not really much we can do, except to force the opponent to play on the right side, and have him stop producing scary stuff on the left side, as there's not a lot that we can do here. We're just blocking, and we find the Root of the World, and this will enable us to make a lot of to draw a ton. I think we're only missing the red and purple rings. So yeah, this is still going to be very scary next turn, but at least it blocks 3 damage instead of none. And the opponent actually has double Krakens, and thankfully he double blocks. I think that was definitely not correct. I think the opponent should have just played the one of the Krakens over here, as I have no way to kill both of these. And I think the opponent is just banking on the fact that one of these is gonna survive, and he would use it to, in combination with the Borealis Bridge, and just kill me somehow next turn. I really don't think that was the correct play. But we're really not ahead by any means, except with cards. We're definitely far ahead in terms of cards, but it's definitely very sketchy, and we had to use the Unforgivable Crossing here to get back the Poxbringer and to be able to at least reduce the amount of damage that we're gonna take somehow. And the Gem Cutter Spider as well as a blocker here, as the opponent really has already used his Angel, and a Seal here would just be the end for us. But thankfully the opponent is only going to just one card, and it didn't feel worth it to play around stuff at this point. So yeah, we're definitely doing very well. And as mentioned, I have burned 2 orange gems, 2 yellow, 2 blue, 3 yellow, 1 red, 1 green, 2 orange, 1 purple, which is really the ideal burning for us. We have forged the Annulus Fabricator, and we have the yellow, green, yellow, orange, green, blue rings. We're only missing the red and purple rings. And yeah, it's definitely still very sketchy for us here, and we're gonna be forced to play the Sign of Pride we're gonna be forced to play the Sign of Pride soon, and it's gonna be one of the nice things about playing 2 orange gems and the Root of the World, is that we can play the Sign of Pride and the Pride of Place during the same turn. So yeah, and the Root of the World can return back return back the Sign of Pride. It allows us to play the Sign of Pride and shuffle it back into our deck. And here we just... I was very sad here to have used the Pride of Place, but we also don't have the Victorious Podium in play, so it wouldn't have mattered. But if we had the Victorious Podium in play, we would have just summoned the champion right there by just playing the Pride of Place on the Gamma Cannon, which is one of the reasons why maybe shuffling the Victorious Podium back into our deck is not a very good decision. But I think I've played against Harpy once before, and I think he plays Herald of War, and I was actually concerned about having the Victorious Podium being removed with the Herald of War, and I'll have to check now if he plays the Herald of War. He doesn't play the Herald of War anymore, but I can almost swear that he played the Herald of War against me once. So yeah, it's looking very nice for us. We're only down to 5 cards in our deck compared to his 17, so we're definitely drawing a ton thanks to the Model Duality and the Root of the World. And we don't really care about the Rising Necklace anymore, except maybe we should, because the Victorious Podium is a the Victorious Podium is an enchantment. We should have definitely just discarded the blue ring instead. And yeah.
What do you say? Looking for information.
And we find the Victorious Podium, and but we don't have the Sign of Pride. So it means that we're just prioritizing finding the Victorious Podium here. as being able to find the sign of pride as we just did is really the just means that we're gonna summon the the champion next turn, regardless of what happens, unless the Gamma Sen is killed somehow, and we're gonna have to just cast it again and pride of place. But until then, we just need to survive, and we're definitely going to survive because the opponent doesn't have any threats on the board. And I could have also played the Victorious Podium, but I was still scared of the Herald of War because you only get Heralded of War once, and you're kinda scarred for life when you're playing enchantments, especially when you play the Victorious Podium and build your entire deck around this and have it just being dealt with. That's very annoying, and I wouldn't have gone this far and just to have the Victorious Podium being removed. So yeah, the deadly on an Alpha Strike means that it can kill anything in combat.
I'll take that.
And there's nothing to stop that. And us getting the Sign of Pride, and we have all the rings in play, means that all we need to do is just Pride of Place our Gamma Sen in, and then the champion himself is summoned, and we use him to kill everything on the board, and it's really cool and hilarious how he does this. And then swinging for lethal. So yeah, it's a really fun deck. It's really fun to summon the champion, and I think everyone needs to summon the champion at least once. I've managed to summon the champion 3 times so far, and it's been a blast trying to summon him. But it's also sometimes very frustrating, as you can imagine that a deck like this can easily get aggroed down very easily. But yeah, it's a very nice meme deck, and the core of the deck, the yellow, blue, orange core, is definitely something that I will try to experiment with in the future, as it's definitely has a lot of potential. And I think Ejecti has a new Angel Loop, Fires of Creation Angel Loop, that also works with a yellow, blue, orange core. So that will be something to look forward to update for the for post expansion meta. So yeah, that was today's video, and I hope you enjoyed it. So thank you for watching, and please leave a like and subscribe. Thank you again.